The movie begins in Modesto, California, where Dreamboat weatherman Derek Dietel proposes to Susan Murphy live on TV. Everything was going according to plan until the day of the wedding, as Susan contemplates her fancy life with Derek. He meets with her just before the wedding and explains the change in their plans. Instead of spending their lives as a couple in Paris, they will be moving to Fresno, California, as he has an audition to become the new evening anchor there. Although everything isn't going according to plan, Susan is still happy to be marrying the guy of her dreams when she suddenly hears the sky rumbling. When she looks at the sky, she sees a meteorite falling and tries to run away from it, but gets hit instead. Her mom starts looking for her as the wedding ceremony is underway and finds her filthy and messy. Although she appears unharmed at first, her body changes during the ceremony. She started glowing green, her hair turned white, and she grew into a 50-foot-tall giantess accidentally destroying the church. Soon, the US military appears and tries to take her in. After getting hit by a powerful tranquilizer, Susan loses consciousness as the military contains her. Susan later finds herself in a top-secret government facility and starts to panic. Waking up to an unfamiliar environment, trying to make sense of where she is. She later meets her fellow monster inmates. Confusion turns into shock when she finds a gigantic insect behind her. General Warmonger, the army officer in charge of the facility, later greets her. He explains that at the time, the government felt the world was not ready for monsters. So the US government convinced the world to have these so-called monsters locked up in this facility while the rest of the world continued thinking of them as myths and legends. Although Susan insists she is not a monster and doesn't belong in the facility, the government thinks otherwise. He introduces her to her fellow monster inmates. Insect assaults an insect that mutated after being hit with nuclear radiation that turned him into a 350-foot-tall monster that attacked Tokyo. The missing link, a prehistoric 20,000-year-old macho fish-ape hybrid who was thawed out from deep ice by scientists who found him. Dr. Cockroach, Ph.D., the world's most brilliant scientist who became half-human, half-cockroach after an experiment went wrong when he was trying to give humans the cockroach's ability to survive, and Bobby, short for benzoate-acetylesing bicarbonate, a brainless and living indestructible mass of blue goo, which is a byproduct from a genetically altered tomato and a chemically modified wrench-flavored dessert topping. Adding to the group of misfit monsters is Susan, renamed Genomica by the government and forbidden any contact with her friends or family. Meanwhile, on a mysterious spaceship in outer space, a squid-like alien overlord named Galaxy is awoken from its deep slumber by the ship's AI and made aware of the discovery of the elusive substance known as quantum leam. They've tracked the Contoni cone arm on a meteorite headed for Earth, so Galaxy sends a robot probe to retrieve it with extreme prejudice. The alien probe lands on Earth, where the President of the United States attempts to make first contact by playing Axel F on the piano, thinking that aliens respond to music. The alien probe instead destroys the piano and goes on the offensive. Heading straight for San Francisco, the US Army retaliates and attacks the alien probe with everything they've got, but fails to destroy it or stop it for that matter. While the governments debated how to handle the alien probe, they evacuated all citizens in the San Francisco area. Other officials suggest sacrificing the elderly to it, while others consider moving the state to another planet when left with no options except nuclear missiles. General Munger crashes in on their meeting and suggests using monsters against the aliens. He explains that over the last 50 years, he has captured monsters on the rampage and locked them up in a secret prison facility for one day. They could use them. He claims these monsters are their best chance of defeating the menacing robot. While General Munger suggests the idea, some worry that there are better solutions than having a monster problem on top of their alien problem. Back at the top-secret facility, the monsters in captivity engage with each other while Link and Bob enjoy a game of cards. Dr. Cockroach uses science to help Susan regain her normal human form. General Manager arrives and claims that they will be fighting an alien robot and in return will be granted their freedom if they manage to defeat it as promised by the President. They are then flown into San Francisco with insect assaults to face the alien robot wreaking havoc in the city, which they later discover to be gigantic. Susan starts to panic when the others suggest she hide while they handle the alien robot as it chases after Susan, to which it detects the quantum within her body. The others chase after it. Link uses the sewers to move around the city, and Dr. Cockroach drives an improvised school bus while Bob gets stuck under the alien's foot. The alien robot targets Susan, who tries to escape from it, jumping from building to building on the rooftop. She then uses two cars as she skates and runs to the Golden Gate Bridge when she causes a traffic accident. She tries to help people escape, but the alien robot tries to grab her when Insect Associates arrives and confronts the alien robot from the other side of the bridge. It attacks the alien robot with a snot webbing while the others arrive at the scene. The alien robot grabs Susan when she was distracted, but she managed to break free from its grip. Link tries to charge at it, but gets deflected by its shields while Dr. Cockroach tries to infiltrate the robot. He managed to get inside and tinker around with its wires when he accidentally activated its mesmerizing maze on insect assaults. Bob clears up the road dividers for the people caught in the battle to escape. Meanwhile, Susan uses her massive strength to pull the robot in and loses its balance when the bridge's suspension falls on top of it and decapitates the alien robot. Upset over the failed retrieval of the Quantum team, the Laxer sets a course for Earth to retrieve it himself with an overwhelming victory against the alien robot. Susan returns to her family with her new monster friends, as promised by the government. Link feels down for not being able to do much in their last fight, so Susan tries to comfort him. The team finds themselves in Modesto, California, where Susan's hometown is, and is reunited with her family when she discovers that Derek is at work. She heads off immediately to the TV station while leaving her friend's home. Susan's family couldn't help themselves be comfortable being in the company of monsters when they eventually scared them off when things turned chaotic. An excited Susan grabs Derek, who feels overwhelmed by her size. So he breaks up with her. He claims he will never put his career on hold for her while she tries to figure out how to undo what happened to her. He explains that he doesn't see how they could have the life they planned with things as it is, and decides to walk out of her life depressed over her heartbreak. Susan feels embarrassed going home, so she breaks down at a gas station when the others show up, depressed over how the world still treats them as monsters despite saving the world. After much contemplating, Susan realizes that her life is better as a monster and tries to lift the spirits of her fellow monsters while promising the others that she will never underestimate herself again. Susan is suddenly pulled up to Galaxy. A spaceship with a tractor beam insect has tried to save Susan but was mercilessly shot down by the ship, seemingly killing him. Susan finds herself on board the spaceship but gets trapped in a prison cell of Galaxias, wondering why this is happening. Galaxiar explains that he is here to claim what was stolen from him. Quintanilla said to be the most powerful substance in the entire universe, which is flowing in Susan's ginormous body. Furious after realizing that she is the reason for Galactus attacking Earth and killing her friend, Susan breaks free from her prison and tries to grab him. She chases Galactus across the entire ship, not being impeded by anything in her way. She is later lured and trapped into a glass chamber that extracts the quantum from her body, shrinking her back to her original size. He then uses the acquired quantum lium to create countless clones of himself to launch a full-scale invasion of Earth. When Galaxy reclaims his quest for world domination, the US government sends the monsters aboard a ship to finish this once and for all. The monsters fly in with jetpacks while the plane is shot down, to which General Munger escapes with a parachute. Dr. Cockroach, Link and Bob sneak inside the alien spaceship looking for Susan disguised as Galaxy or clones. They run into Susan, who is being taken in by a clone to the incinerator, and free her. They later head to the center of the ship in search of the main power core to destroy the ship and stop the invasion. When they accidentally shoot one of the clones, their disguises are blown and they find themselves surrounded. Link clears a path in front with his fighting skills, while Bobby swallows the clones and throws them overboard. Susan tries to use the face gun, but gets recoiled from the massive power while Dr. Cockroach squirms around, avoiding the clones and the machines. They reach the computer room where Dr. Cockroach cracked the code that initiated the ship's self-destruct mechanism after the intruders breached its security protocol. Alerted by the self-destruct, Galaxy ordered the ship's AI to divert the acquired quantum lium to the bridge and prepare his escape pod. Susan and the others try to escape before the ship's doors close. Blink commands one of the hovers and tries to run for the door before it closes. The hover crashes with Susan, the only one who made it out the door, leaving the others behind. Blink and the others send Susan on her way and escape on her own. Given that they are trapped from the other side of the door, Susan picks herself up and uses the hover's turbines as she skates to find Galaxy. She makes it past several alien probes that try to stop her and reach outside. She then pushes forward, heads toward Galaxy on the bridge and demands he opens the doors for her friends to escape. One Galaxy claims he cannot override the system's doors. Susan shoots at the capsule containing the quantum fiam, dropping it on her. She absorbs the quantum limb and reverts to her gigantic form. She then breaks open the doors where her friends lie in wait for certain doom with the ship about to explode. Susan barely hangs onto the boat when insect assaults transformed into a giant butterfly catches them as they fall. They manage to get some distance from the ship before it exploded. Susan and the others return to their family and friends to receive a hero's welcome. Despite being monsters, Susan is reunited with her parents while Link has women literally throwing themselves at him. Derek arrives, claiming he wants to get back with Susan, but later admits that he got an offer from New York if he gets an interview with the famous Gino Mica. Susan rejects and humiliates him live on camera, clearly taking advantage of her fame for his career. Meanwhile, General Manager arrives and informs them that they are needed for a job after a monstrous snail later named Gargantua is slowly making its way to Paris after falling into a French nuclear reactor. Susan and the others head onto the back of Insect, a source to save the world yet again.